One of the hottest stories making its way around Weibo today is an article from China's People's Daily. The post is about the current situation between China and the Philippines in the South China Sea and has generated a lot of comments. But first, let's take a look at the original post.
To handle the situation through negotiation is still the best way to solve the problem concerning Huangyuan Island. But the Philippines must not mistake China's goodwill as a sign of weakness. There is a limit to the most patient benevolence, and the intolerable will not be tolerated. If it comes to that, we won't mind working with the Philippines to create a Huangyuan Island method. Faced with this opponent, we have enough wisdom and sufficient means to subdue the enemy without coming to blows and to force them to yield.
The Weibo post is just an excerpt from a much longer article published by People's Daily on March 8th and has been forwarded thousands of times on the Chinese microblog service. And of course, there were a lot of comments.
All you do is talk. The Heavenly Kingdom's foreign policy should be updated. A little weak country has the audacity to push us around, even if they have America as an ally. So what? Learn something from Russia, will you? Always bad talking the Heavenly Kingdom. Don't know where you belong. Pig. This is China, not your Heavenly Kingdom. Get out. You're a traitor to the Han people. This is just killing the chicken to warn the monkey.
Well, it seems comments today are mixed. There are those who are in favor of military showdown. There are those who believe that China shouldn't or wouldn't be so brash. And others who believe that China's posture is a show for Japan. Hence the comments, killing the chicken to warn the monkey. And now for those of you who are unfamiliar with the situation, both China and the Philippines are claiming ownership over a cluster of small islands in the South China Sea named Scarborough Shoal. Now, both countries claim that it has been using the area for hundreds of years, but last month, 2 Philippine warships found 8 Chinese fishing vessels at the shoal. 2 Chinese surveillance ships then arrived in the area and prevented Philippine authorities from boarding the Chinese vessels. The situation became more intense when China sent 4 more surveillance vessels and the Philippines sent a Coast Guard ship. On Monday, China delivered a warning against the Philippines that it was ready to respond to any hostility in the maritime region. Most travel agencies in China have suspended their tours for the Philippines, and travelers are warned against traveling to the Southeast Asian country for fear of safety. The Chinese embassy in Manila has posted an advisory for Chinese citizens in the country to stay off the streets and avoid conflicts with locals. Now for a few more comments.
Chairman Mao once said, "Political power comes from the barrel of a gun. To subdue an enemy without fighting will not always work. We need to do everything we can to protect our sovereignty." As for the Philippines, China's position should be to give them military pressure, economic pressure, and diplomatic pressure. Relying on diplomacy by itself isn't enough. We need to back up our fishing boat with the Navy on standby. We should impose an economic sanction on them. For diplomacy, we need to have them sit down to talk, and if none of it work, then we should use force to teach them a lesson.
If China uses force, it wouldn't be the first time in the region. Back in 1988, China came into conflict with Vietnam over possession of Johnson Reef, which is part of the Spratly Islands located southwest of Scarborough Shoal. Chinese gunboats sunk Vietnamese transport ships that were supporting a landing party of Vietnamese soldiers, which ended with 64 casualties. The Spratly Islands also became the center of a dispute between China and the Philippines in 1995. The Association of Southeast Asian Nations brokered an agreement between China and ASEAN members, and in 2002, China and representatives from 10 ASEAN nations signed a declaration on the conduct of parties in the South China Sea. The parties pledged to hold dialogues and exchange their views, notify on a voluntary basis other parties of any impending military exercise, which helped to ease the tension at the time, but were not a set of legally binding codes of conduct. So with the current situation between China and the Philippines, any conflict in the area will also involve a number of other countries,